Ahoy, hoy, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The O Show. I'm O, and I'm here for your amusement. Okay, you guys, so, I'm very excited about this episode. We are going to talk about the show Amen. It was a sitcom that came on from 1986 to 1991, so it ran for 5 seasons. And this show stars Sherman Hemsley, and this is when he was fresh off of doing the Jeffersons, right? So he was doing the Jeffersons for all these years. That show ended, and then he started doing some guest spots here and there on certain shows, but then he found home to a new show, which was Amen. So it's pretty much about this church. It's called the First Community Church of Philadelphia, and he is playing Ernest Frye, who is a widow, or is he a widower? But his wife passed away. He's been raising his daughter Thelma by himself. He is the deacon of the church, and with him being a deacon, he is just pretty much cheap. He loves the church, but he wants to make sure that he can save a dime whenever he can. He's also this lawyer. He's one of those ambulance chasing lawyers. So he just always has these shady gigs that he has to lie his way through in order to win a case. Later on in the show, he becomes a judge too. I don't know how the hell that happened, but anyway. Sherman Hemsley is a fool. He be dancing, and he does not care how he looks, but he's just having a good old time, right? But it was really fun to see, he had to be, he was funny, but he still kind of had to be serious in the Jeffersons, and then on his show, he just didn't fucking care. He was just I'm going to do what I want, okay? Okay, so his daughter is named Thelma Frye. She is played by Anna Maria Horsford, who you may know as the mom from Friday. Oh my God, she's the best person. I cannot imagine anyone else. And I don't even think she was supposed to be in this role, if I'm not mistaken. But, oh my God. Danny.
I can't be a bridesmaid again. It's too humiliating. Everybody feeling sorry for me because I'm not married.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, it isn't. It's getting so now, after the wedding, they don't even throw the bouquet. They just walk over and hand it to me.
So, she is so damn funny. Those two, were the perfect casting. So, Thelma is the bridesmaid who's never been a bride. So, she's always wanted to get married, have a family, but, stuff ain't happening. Half the time she has a job, half the time she don't have a job. But her big thing is she cannot cook. She is the worst cook in the entire world, and she has no idea. That's the funny part. She's always making stuff, and people will literally tell her, girl, you gotta put something in the hospital. And she always has these snappy comebacks. That was my biscuits. They love my biscuits. And the whole time, people were just, bringing their teeth on her biscuits and stuff. It's just so funny. Clifton Davis plays the Reverend Dr. Rueben Gregory. So, when the show starts, they just lost their old pastor, and they need to get a new one. So, he applies and gets the job. And he's just awesome in this role. Remember when he was on That's My Mama? You guys ever watched that show? Yeah, Clifton Davis is, he did a really, really good job in this show as the Reverend. I was always if I ever go to church, I want a Reverend like that. I always had like boring pastors, but anyway, forgive me, Lord. Okay, so the next characters in the show, there are two sisters. So the first one is played by Roz Ryan. She plays Amelia Hedebrink. Yes, Hedebrink. And she is a church secretary. And then she has a sister, and she is played by Barbara Montgomery. And her character is Cassietta Hedebrink. And she is the trustee. Now, they're a really good duo, and it's really funny because I didn't know this at first. Well, because again, I feel like when this show aired originally, I think they were moving it around here and there, because I remember, like, when I used to watch The Cosby Show growing up, you knew the episodes like in order. Like, I remember growing up catching the new episodes. And with Amen, I would catch new episodes. And then I would catch a lot of the reruns. They used to rerun the hell out of the show back then. And then I used to be like, where are the new episodes? And I thought they kept like changing the day or the time that they were airing. So that way when I was watching like reruns, all of a sudden I would see an episode I never saw it. I was like, what? So it was really weird watching this because Barbara Montgomery only lasted on the show for like 4 seasons. So when the 5th season rolled around, and this is one of those shows where the opening credits stay the same. Like, they don't change the opening credits. It's just pretty much Sherman Hemsley getting out of his car and walking into the church. But only, the names change of who's starring in the show. And Barbara Montgomery's name all of a sudden disappeared. So, from what I understand, I guess she wasn't really feeling like appreciated, I guess. Which, I mean, I guess that was not like people were feuding on the show. But I guess I can kind of see what she's talking about, because there are times where Roz Ryan's character kind of does more stuff than Barbara's character. Like one time, like her, Roz Ryan and Sherman Hemsley were like stuck in an avalanche, like they went camping or something. And they got stuck in an avalanche in the cabin, and then they had to survive. So it was like her, but then the other one, like anytime you saw her, she was always with her sister. So I don't know, it was really weird how they like put some episodes together. But apparently she felt like, well, y'all don't need me. And so she went to do another show, which I was looking it up. I'd never heard of it. I didn't watch it. I think it lasted like 1 or 2 seasons, even though when she left, it was Amen's last season. So, I guess she got like a little more work than everyone else. So you gotta do what you gotta do. But, yeah, that was weird. And you know what was also weird? Even when the new season started, and like no one said anything about the one sister leaving, like they were like thick as thieves. Like, they were the characters who was like, thank you, sister. Oh, you're welcome, sister,
Well, I say we dump this jailbird so fast his head swims. All in favor?
Now you just hold your horses. I like it. Sister Cassietta?
I do, too. Mm-hmm. I think he's just the kind of pastor we've been looking for.
I can't believe you're serious.
I most certainly am.
I am, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No one ever said, like, oh, my sister went here, or my sister finally got married, or my sister's on a honeymoon. Like, they just went along with the show like nothing happened. So, whatever. Jester Hairston played Raleigh Forbes. And Raleigh was just pretty much like that comic relief where he had something smart Alec to say about Sherman Hemsley's character. Yeah, anytime something happened, like he always had some kind of just snarky remark to say, which is he's either kind of looking at the camera, breaking the fourth wall, or he will just kind of turn his head away, not necessarily looking at the camera, but not looking at everyone else, and he'll say his little snarky line, and then the audience laughs.
I spent time in the Slammer too. Didn't anybody miss me?
I missed you.
Thanks, Raleigh.
Enjoyed it too.
I'm telling you, it was hell. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrow.
Nobody cares.
Okay.
he has a good one-liners here and there, but he was just pretty much like the elder, and I want to say he was the trustee. I think that was his anything related to like money. Even though Sherman Hemsley's like spending the money and trying to save money, he was like the record keeper of the money. So that was his part. Rosetta Lenore played Leota, and she was Raleigh's love interest. Oh, you know what I like when old people fall in love? But I do remember this because I understand it now as an adult, but like when you're watching a TV show, like I said in another video with Aunt Viv, which by the way, I know I said like Aunt Viv. I don't know where I got Viv from, but Aunt Viv from Fresh Prince. It wasn't until I was editing, I was like, oh my God, did I really say Viv? Like, what's wrong with me? But you know, you're watching the show and like they switch characters out. So, and they even did it on the show that this character left for. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is Loretta, right? She was playing Raleigh's love interest on Amen. Then she decided to leave Amen and go to an unknown show called Family Matters. And you know, Family Matters at first was a sleeper hit until Urkel showed up in that one episode, and then it blew up and became the Urkel show. But yeah, so she left this show to go to that show. And just like in Family Matters, when Harriet left, and then all of a sudden this woman comes into like, you know, the kitchen, talk about, hey dear, and we're now supposed to believe that she's the new Harriet. Well, they did that with Amen. Rosetta was the original love interest of Raleigh. And then all of a sudden this lady showed up. Her name was Montrose Higgins. And then all of a sudden she was Leota Forbes. So yeah, all of a sudden there's this other old lady who doesn't look like the other lady. But she's like, oh, I remember when me and Raleigh got, you know, fell in love and stuff. And you watch the show, you're like, who the hell is this bitch? So, you know, one lady left and another one came in, and you're just supposed to believe that that's her. I hate when people do that on television shows. Okay, and then like for like the last couple of seasons rather, there was this lady called Inga. Wait, no, her character was Inga, but her name is Elsa Raven. And she was this housekeeper. Now, whenever Thelma went away, and I'm going to get to a little of that later, but when Thelma wasn't in the house or she was away for like a long amount of time, Ernest Frye decides to hire a maid. So he hires this woman, and she comes in and she's doing like the housekeeping and the cooking. But then, like, right away, she has this weird attraction to him. So every time she's around, she's, like, sexually harassing this man. Like, she's literally telling him, like, I love you. I think in the first episode, we probably see her. I thought she was trying to get into bed with him. That was just the weirdest character. And then all of a sudden, she'll just be gone. Until, again, like I say, like, whenever Thelma's gone, all of a sudden, he's like, Inga, come over here and take care of me. And then she's like, okay, Mr. Frye. That character is just so weird. Later on, we get, and I think this, well, kind of midway, we are introduced to this little boy named Chris. And he is played by Tony T. Johnson. Now, in the episode that we meet him in, Lorenz Tate guest stars as this kid that Ernest takes out to go camping. And I guess the mom was away or something, so he smuggled his little brother in this bag. And then Lorenz Tate disappears. He was just there for that one episode. But Chris stayed around because they were giving him some really, really funny lines.
But he's too young to be out overnight. How old are you, Chris?
32.
So Chris becomes this running gag where he would come to the door. Sometimes he just walks his little ass up in there. Like, he always talked about his mama, but where's your mama at, boy? Like, you just walk into people's houses unannounced. And then he would always know the town gossip because he'll be like, oh, my mom said this about you, Thelma, or my mom heard this, and oh no, the whole street's talking about it. And like the running gag was he would always say something that crosses the line, and he would literally be thrown out of the house. Like, they would pick his little ass up and throw him out of the house.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Chris.
What are we talking about?
Oh, nothing, dear.
Church business, honey.
Thou still sleeping with the Reverend? I heard the Reverend Mother is coming over for dinner tonight. Good luck.
What do you mean?
If you blow this one, you'll be sleeping in a single bed for a long...
Yeah, that was funny. That little boy, he was the original Jazzy Jeff before they kept throwing Jazz out the house on Fresh Prince. They were throwing this little boy out the house every episode. And then the last, main character, didn't happen until the last season, and there was a teenager, and his name was Clarence. Or, as he likes to say, Clarence is so fine. He's played by Bumper Robinson, who, I'm in my 40s, and I just realized why his name is Bumper. Like, I knew his name wasn't Bumper for real, but I never knew, like, where that name came from. Apparently, he said that when he was little, he was just this clumsy little kid that kept bumping into everything, and then his dad called him Bumper because he bumped into stuff, and I guess it, like, stuck. And so he used it as his professional name. And you probably remember him from A Different World. I think he did a couple episodes of Living Single. But he's made a career of voice acting. If you look up his IMDb, I am pretty sure there's a movie or a cartoon that your kids are watching right now, and he's actually doing the voice of that character. So, yeah, he's doing a lot of voice work over the years. But anyway, he was like the protege for Ernest Frye. Like, he was on a bad path of crime, and then the church came in and helped him, and he ended up getting off on whatever he was being accused of or arrested for. And they were like, okay, well, instead of going to jail, you're going to get community service, so you have to work at the church. So he's just always at the deacon's house, or he's at the church. He's always wearing those funky, fresh outfits that, we all wore back in the 90s. Because by the time he came, it was the 90s. But, yeah, so that was like pretty much the main cast of Amen. So again, this is about the church and everything that happens in church, and you got counseling that the Reverend has to do, and water heater problems, and this and this and that. But one of the main sub storylines of the show was Thelma fell in love instantly with the deacon. Like, the first day not the deacon, I'm sorry, that's her dad. The Reverend. So when the Reverend came in, Thelma's like, who is this man? Like, that's my man. And she was just throwing herself on this man. Like, it didn't matter how desperate she looked, she didn't care. And he knew it too, but he was like, oh, Thelma, calm down, and oh, Thelma. And then as time went by, his feelings grew stronger for her too. So I want to say it was like season 3 maybe, where they finally got engaged and they were actually going to get married. And I think there's 2 times they tried to get married. So the first time the Reverend kind of chickened out. Like, he was nervous, he passed out, the wedding couldn't go on, they had to postpone it. Then he was like, I don't think I'm ready. And then Thelma ends up joining the army. There's a whole couple episodes of like army life and whatever. And then later on, like the next season, or probably the 5th season, I think they got married again. They tried again, had a second wedding, and they finally got married. It's one of those. I do remember that was one of those events that TV was like, ooh, amen. Thelma's gonna get married, or is she? And then, so they do. She finally gets her man. And now they're husband and wife, and stuff happens, and they have to move out of his apartment because I think she burned the place down because of her cooking. So they had to move in with Ernest Frye. Blah, 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 blah. And then at the very, very end, at the finale of the show, she does eventually get pregnant, and they're having a telethon because they have to pay like $25,000 for a gas... something in the church, I forgot. But of course, they got to get it fixed. So they end up doing this telethon, and James Brown is on it singing, and they hear Thelma going, ah! So they're like, oh my God, like, she could do James Brown too. And she's like, no, I'm in labor. So she finally goes into labor because she was like overdue. Like one episode, I think she said she was like a few weeks overdue. So she gives birth to the baby, and then that ended up being like the series finale. So fun stuff, you guys, fun stuff. One thing that was really fun watching this show is just seeing all the cameos of celebrities that are in it. Because it's always fun. I find it fun when I go back to watch a movie or a show from like back in the day, and you've seen someone on it, and then you go back and you go, oh my God, I know who that is now. They're famous now. But back then you're like, who's this person? So look, y'all, I'm at the cheat. I got all my notes here. So, but there was a lot of people on this show. So we got Nell Carter, James Avery, who ended up being the father on Fresh Prince, and on this show, he's always wearing this horrible like toupee. No one is fake because in a couple episodes something happens and his hair will blow off, and he's always going, ooh, did anyone see? Did anyone see? And he puts it back on like, we know the hair is fake. Like even when he just comes out for the scene, you're like, that is not his hair. It's such a bad wig. Oh my gosh. You got Berlinda Tolbert, who was, if I'm not mistaken, that was Jenny from The Jeffersons. And so he had her come on this show, and she made a fun appearance. Jack Hay was on it as she like murdered her husband and had Ernie like set her free in trial just to get into bed with him and be like, yeah, I killed that bastard. Fred Williamson, Loretta Devine, Cuba Gooding Jr., Richard Roundtree, LaWanda Page, Whitman Mayo. Now, LaWanda Page and Whitman Mayo, they played a husband and wife. And apparently, they're in a couple episodes, but when we first meet them, apparently he married LaWanda's character, who Ernest Frye used to love back in the day. So I guess that was like the joke. So every time the Ernest and her had a moment, he's always thinking that he's trying to like put the moves on his wife. So stupid. Halle Berry was on this show. Halle Berry came on the show and she played like a love interest of Ernest Frye. Like apparently they knew each other from like a few years ago, and then she came back and they kind of like rekindled their love, and there was a whole like Thelma not liking it because Thelma's like, she's like my age. What's going on? That's craziness. Chubby Checker, Casey Kasem, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Can I just say, forgive me, Kareem, but why do they keep hiring this man to act? He is not a good actor in anything he does. The worst is when I used to watch Different Strokes, and he was Arnold Jackson's teacher for like, thank God, it was only like 2 or 3 episodes. Like, yes, the joke is that this guy is like super tall, he comes in, blah, 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 but his line delivery, they keep putting him in stuff. Whose idea is this? Oh my gosh. MC Hammer had a whole episode. He was teaching Bumper's character to stay in school. You know, just because you're getting a record deal, don't do it, because if it falls through, well, what are you gonna, back in the day, the TV used to like to teach us lessons, like stay in school, don't become rich and famous yet. And then there was this episode with Michael Oliver. If you don't know who Michael Oliver is, this little boy right here from Problem Child. So there was a whole episode where Ernest he was doing like this daycare, and he had to take care of all these kids, and this little boy was in there. And of course he was the one going, I don't like this. This is awful. And then at the end he thinks, oh, okay, well I guess Mr. Fry's kind of cool. Alright, you guys, so that was my little review of Amen. It is really funny. Like, Tubi's free, so just download Tubi. But it's on there, and if you are a fan of the show, again, this is the only place you can find it. It's not on home media. It's not on any DVD or VHS. It's not on, like, A lot of it's not even on YouTube. There's no reruns on regular cable either. It's one of those shows I used to be, they had like the Cosby Show and 227 and What's Happening on. Where's Amen? I guess there's something, I don't know if it's like a legal thing. I have no idea, but if you are a fan of the show, that is the only place you can check it out. So I do recommend it. All 5 seasons are there. Did you watch Amen? Let me know in the comments below. It's funny. It's actually still pretty funny. It's still kind of relevant, the stuff they're talking about and doing. It's not that dated. The only things I would say that are really dated are like the women's outfits. Like their dresses and what's that shimmer thing the dresses used to be like in the 80s? Like, and then Bumper Robinson's like 90s fashions. But everything else is pretty much like still a thing. Alright, so yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think. And I will talk to you all in the next episode. So until then, TTFN.
Amen is taped before a live studio audience.